Access granted.
Subject: interview with Mike Horn. Body: on October 5th, 2021, we got the chance to speak with Chief Strategy Officer for Cubles, Mike Horn, about the company's recent news regarding their G.I. Joe license and officially branded paperboard products coming this holiday season. Here's what we could show you from that G14 classified recording.
Access granted.
Joining me now is one of the people behind the super fun papercraft company Cubles. The company have recently revealed plans to release officially licensed G.I. Joe branded paperboard products just in time for the holiday season, and we have managed to coax Chief Strategy Officer Mike Horn onto the show for a chat about it all. Welcome to the show, Mike. Thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's really it's a pleasure and an honor to be with you here this morning.
Absolutely. Funny how quick this came about as well. Like, now I know we're actually this episode is going out on the day of, you know, kind of proper official reveals and everything. But it was just funny how we posted a news burst and then you contacted me, I think on the day or like close to it. And then was like, "Do you want to do this? Do you want to chat about it?" I'm like, "Absolutely." I mean, how crazy was that?
The funny thing how it came about was somebody on my team must have had a Cubles alert or something, and so he sent over a link, and it actually was a mobile Facebook link. And I opened it and I saw the thing. I'm like, "Hey, that's cool." And then one of the other partners was like, "Wait, they got the pricing wrong." I'm like, "It's okay. Like, what's the big deal?" And so. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just reach out to them. You know, they've got to contact us on their Facebook page. I'll just reach out to them. And, it just, what was it? 20 minutes later, we were like, let's do a podcast interview. Like,
it's like, okay, cool. I'll write up a document and have it with you. Yeah, it was crazy quick. But yeah, so before we get any further, let's make that first initial kind of correction, as it were. Now, on the news burst a while back, we reported through his tank as well that it was going to be a price point of about $6.99, between $6.99 and $24.99, almost like a range. But that is incorrect. It's actually one price point, and we'll get to obviously the ins and outs of that particular wave of product later in the show. But it's actually going to be $7.99, and to correct ourselves at that point. And then obviously we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But before we get into the details of all that, Mike, could you tell me a little bit, obviously, this isn't your first G.I. Joe rodeo, is it? I mean, tell us about your experience with the brand in the past, because this isn't your first company either, is it really?
No, it's not. Well, I've been in the business for a long time. I actually I just realized that this holiday will make 30 years in the collectible space for me. So I've been around. Yeah, I know. It's a little scary to say out loud. I started my career long ago as a buyer at Diamond Comic Distributors, the first trading card boom. So that was my first job out of college. So, but no, in the mid '90s, I started up what was originally a marketing firm that evolved into a toys and collectibles company called Palisades. Well, it's originally marketing, and then Palisades Toys as it evolved. And so somewhere around, I guess, I don't know, 2000, 2001, 2002, somewhere in that window, we kind of had two distinct product lines. We had action figures and we had resin statues. And at the time, my right-hand man was just, well, at the time, he's an enormous G.I. Joe fan. And he just was like, he was going to will us into getting a G.I. Joe license one way or another. He didn't know what product we'd make, how we'd convince him to license another toy company. But it was like, one way or another, we're going to get this. And we ended up getting a license to make resin mini busts and statues for G.I. Joe and Transformers. So we had them both.
Remember them well. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that was, we had a multi-year run with those products, and, it was kind of right place, right time, and some really cool stuff that I was really proud of. I know we sort of stylistically said, let's make like sort of a realistic view of them. Sort of interpret the 3 3/4 inch figures into realistic style and realistic proportions. We were kind of known for our attention to detail as a company, and so we carried that across. Interestingly enough, the head of product development who designed all those products just started in the same role with Cubles literally last week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The same guy, Ken Lilly, is going to head up product development for us here at Cubles.
That's fantastic. I mean, was that a surprise, or did you have something to do with him getting in on that?
Well, he and I have had a couple go rounds. In between, we actually I had a company that actually had an NFL license to do the same kind of collectibles, and I brought him into that as well. So this is actually our third go round.
Blimey!
This is just the ability. He's got this unique ability to see things in both 3D and 2D at the same time, which is what Cubles is all about.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about Cubles, because this is probably the most adorable company I've ever seen in my entire life. I was aware of it before the kind of news broke on His Tank, which we reported on, and again, like, you know, so I'd seen it, I kind of was aware of it, but I hadn't really gone into any kind of deep dive on it. And it's surprisingly, like, you know, very complex, more complex than I thought it was ever going to be. When you look at the final product, they look really cute, these little kind of cube-shaped kind of humanoids and animal characters, but like there's so much like to them. Before we get into that though, I mean, I'd like to talk about the actual, you know, company. How did it kind of come about for you getting involved with Cubles?
So it's interesting. So the original founder is a guy by the name of Joel Morris. He does not come from our industry. He's actually a self-taught tech guy.
Okay.
Who he was telling a story last night how he went from playing in grad school. He was like playing in warehouse, playing bass in a band in warehouse, and then the next week he was working for United Healthcare.
There's a big difference right there.
Yeah, in technology. And so, just being a self-taught tech guy, he right about the time when he had his first kids, who are now, I think, like 6 or 7 and 2 or 3. He's got little kids. Just wanted to come up with kind of create a better mousetrap. We wanted to create a product that was tactile and engaging and getting kids off screen. Again, targeted towards children originally.
Yeah.
But with no plastic. Was absolutely obsessed with it being movable and unique and patentable and not plastic. So put all those things together, and you know, he took the better part of 5 years to develop what is now Cubles. Along the way, getting a couple of patents. We've got one issued on our key joint, which is basically that's exactly what it's described. It's a actually I have one sitting here. It's, you know, it starts flat and it folds up like an accordion, and it becomes an articulated piece that allows for the pieces to not only connect together but also to move.
That's fantastic. So not only are they kind of just little cube, like, you know, little shapes and stuff, they're actually movable, articulated little figures, which is amazing.
That's correct. Yeah, and so what starts flat like a postcard, unfolds here into all these pieces, and you know, you pop out all the different pieces and fold them together, and you know, depending on how skilled you are and how patient you are, you know, 15-20 minutes later you've got this.
Well, depending on how skilled I am, about an hour or maybe 2, I take it. But yeah, that's really cool. And
I'll tell you from experience that the first one you build takes whatever the first one takes, the second one takes 20-30% less.
So for me, it'll be a week and then 3 days.
But then you get a complex one that comes across, and
wow,
got to try to figure it out. So, you know, and we purposely don't include instructions. The idea is,
right,
got to engage it. It's not. There's a natural comparison to Lego, and the Legos that we grew up with were throw a bunch of bricks on the floor and figure out what to make out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that are just today are very specific. You know, put this piece first, then this piece, then this piece. It's a different experience.
Yeah, it's like a lot of STEM learning, effectively, isn't it? Kind of like that kind of science, technology, engineering, mathematics kind of viewpoint, which is again great for kids and all that stuff, but also very therapeutic as well for adults, I'd imagine too, because like that's one of those things that I've done in the past. I have done a lot. Like I've had a few little kind of paper craft things where you pop them out of the paper and then you kind of fold them in certain ways and stuff. But I really like the fact that there are no instructions on it, and it kind of makes you kind of think a little bit about it and how those pieces go together. So yeah,
and it's also all self-contained. So I think what's been done before, you know, this category has been attempted. It's obviously it's a bit of a, you know, a white whale for us in the business of, you know, no tooling, no China, no long lead times. You know, wouldn't it be great? But the execution on Cubles is just so far advanced, and it's all self-contained. So unlike things that have been done in the past, or maybe a website that you can go to and download and print out your own, which we also abide by licensing. But there's no scissors, no tape, no glue. It's all self-contained.
That's
and it's
fantastic.
Very precision. I think the first time you get one and you open it up, you're surprised at how much detail it is and how many different parts. And with the brands that we're evolving into, we're really pushing those boundaries. So a unicorn for a 6-year-old is going to have a different level of complexity than, say, Snake Eyes.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There's a Snake Eyes. That you've said the magic word there, I think. But yeah, like really, I'm actually, I've got to say before we move on to that kind of segment, I love the fact that there's that kind of like self-sustainable, there's a real kind of moral spine to the company, it seems like, to kind of keep, waste down and to keep, recyclable materials and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that it's going to be, like I'm not going to say it's easy to manufacture, but it's certainly a lot better to be in control of that in your own kind of backyard. And you know what's going on, what the situation is, and you can get it pretty fast after, I'm sure that must minimize the manufacture process for you guys too in terms of time.
It's again, like, I've spent the better part of 30 years making stuff in China.
Yeah.
Fastest I ever produced an action figure was 10 months. We produced this last year for the University of Illinois in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, from can it be done to in their hands.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So, it's a huge advantage, and from a business standpoint and a marketing, we can ride trends, we can jump on things that are happening, we can, we could play the meme game if we wanted. There's a number of things we can do with this brand because of the flexibility and because of that timing to market. But the sustainability part, it's I have to point out, it's another obsession of our original founder, Joel. Our tree planting initiative, where we plant 100 trees for every one we use.
Yes.
It's not a marketing gimmick. That is central to who we are.
Yeah.
Again, there's 3 of us on our team who are longtime toy industry veterans who've produced a lot of plastic.
Yeah.
And it is phenomenally refreshing to be involved in a product that has 0 plastic. Even the tape that seals the things together is a recycled material, and we're looking to replace that because because it doesn't look like it. Absolutely. So we're constantly innovating, constantly trying to get better. Another interesting quirk about Joel, I keep referring to him as our original founder. He probably had a 6-7 year head start before the team expanded. There's now 5 of us who are the core owners of the company.
Yeah.
He insisted that we refer to ourselves as co-founders, because even though the company, existed, was incorporated, had patents, he doesn't view the company as having existed for real until our team came together.
He sounds like a really nice guy, honestly.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, it's a remarkable thing. I think I attribute it to the upper Midwest, Minnesota roots.
Absolutely.
But it's a really unique position, and it's we've got such an amazing team, and we had a team call last night with there were about 15 of us on the call, and I think the least experienced team members 20 years.
Wow.
So it's really pretty robust, and we're all kind of taking all these backgrounds that we've got and bringing them into this, and right place, right product, right company, right time.
Fantastic. Well, okay. Well, let's move on then to why we're all here, and that is G.I. Joe. Now, obviously, you just mentioned Snake Eyes there. Let's talk about, because again, full disclosure, I've had a sneak peek at these amazing products, and I have to say, genuinely, I was surprised at how complex, and 2, how freaking cool they are. So let's talk about that first kind of wave of product that you guys have done, because we've talked about how the G.I. Joe license and you know, and how that kind of came about, I guess. But I mean, yeah, take us through that first wave of product if you could.
You know, not surprisingly, we're sort of following, you know, toy assortment kind of rules. Not surprisingly, the initial lineup: Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Baroness, Scarlet, kind of evenly balanced, popular characters, very colorful, represented. Each one looks a little differently. You know, two guys, two girls. You know, two Cobra, two Joe. You know, it's kind of, you know, this isn't rocket science to figure out that part.
I think if you'd have given me a bet, I probably would have said Snake Eyes, and thought Storm Shadow would be coming in the wave 2, just because that seems to be like the standard issue kind of move. And then I definitely would have probably expected Cobra Commander and so on and so forth. So could we expect to see some other characters coming like soon?
Well, it's obviously it's all about response, right? If this first wave, if nobody likes the product and it doesn't go anywhere, then no, of course. I mean, and there's so many characters and there's so many different of them, and you had mentioned earlier about, you know, things like vehicles, which are important. So, you know, the whole GI Joe universe is pretty expansive, and, you know, look, if we're fortunate and we do our jobs and people react the way you've reacted, hopefully we're at this for a long time.
That's great. So let's focus on that first wave first, because it's so cool. Snake Eyes, and we've got some images as well that we're kind of flashing up to, but Snake Eyes, really cool. You've gone with like the classic kind of almost iconic version 2 with the visor, you know, and not just that, but these are also with accessories that are kind of separate pieces, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Your reaction is what we're hoping we get. We want the reaction after you've completed one to say, I cannot believe I made that out of card paper.
Yeah.
That can't possibly be. And then to look at the flat, you know, the original package, like, how is that even possible? That's the reaction that we're going for. And so, yeah, so, you know, previously with some of the more kid oriented, we might have printed on those accessories. But we just wanted to ratchet up so that the little canisters on the bandolier are separate pieces. Amazing. The guns are separate pieces and removable. Storm Shadow's got individual arrows in the quiver that are removable individual pieces.
Unreal.
Scarlet's ponytail is a separate piece. I mean, the whole idea is to really, you know, part of it is for the building experience, but part of it too is it adds that visual depth.
Yeah, totally.
Snake Eyes' visor could, from 10 feet away, could be printed on, you wouldn't know the difference. But the fact that it's a separate piece with a little bit of dimension, you know, we think adds to that wow, cool factor.
Absolutely. And they also come with really gorgeous little kind of packaging as well, don't they? And so again, this is like quite, you know, self-sustainable. It's all connected. I mean, you showed us like an example of that earlier, and you open it out and you've got all the pieces there, like loads of different pieces, but there's other aspects of that packaging as well which like make it quite unique, right?
That's correct. Yeah, what we basically did is the entire thing folds into itself. And so you've got basically the back side of the front cover, so to speak.
Yeah.
It is just a 5x7-inch sheet of space. And so we decided to utilize that space and basically form a diorama. So you can put a piece of unique art. We included some little footers so it stands up. We sometimes do it portrait mode, sometimes landscape. And actually, this is a relatively new feature that we've been developing. And it was Hasbro who said, wouldn't it be cool if, which usually, right, that's a lot of things, good things happen after that stage.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be cool if you did like a comic strip, a unique comic strip to utilize that space?
Absolutely.
But I happen to be friends with Josh Blaylock, so
brilliant.
I called him. I'm like, hey, Hasbro had this idea, and I obviously know you're familiar with the brand. You know, what do you think? And like a lot of things, Cubles, it was, you know, love to do it. Let's do it. Let's jump on it quick. In a matter of a couple of weeks, we had this 4-piece diorama.
And it's absolutely gorgeous as well. Absolutely beautiful pieces, like the 4 separate pieces that come together to make that kind of one kind of frieze, as it were. It's just absolutely great. And that kind of, I suppose, adds that extra dimension of display to these kind of little cute figures as well. Like, you know, I can see that. Like, I'm looking at my displays over there, which are not on screen, and I could just see it that, you know, you can have that whole frieze running the entire length of the top of the, you know, the display, and then just in front of, you know, just really gorgeous things like that. And it looks great. We've got an image of it that I'm kind of, you know, panning across as we speak. And yeah, they look fantastic. So that was a really good idea, Hasbro. Well done.
Well, it's a collaboration, right? I mean, it's
absolutely.
At the end of the day, and you know, we're figuring this stuff out as we go. I mean, I got involved with this company a year and a half ago, and at that time, we didn't have that diorama. It was not part of the package.
Yeah.
The package itself, in fact, was came in a. It looked like it actually is a plastic bag, but it was a biodegradable plastic, as effectively a a shrink wrap, so to speak. And again, just the obsession with improving.
Yeah, like the kind of how people are viewing it more so than whether it's biodegradable or not. Because yeah, I think most people would, given the opportunity when they're throwing stuff away, I know I do this, is I take kind of certain things that I don't think are recyclable, they go in the bin, and then I put the things that I think are recyclable in the recycling. So yeah, there's, I guess that like you're kind of almost trying to overcome that mental thing that people.
Yeah, and just the optics of it too. Yeah. It just and to be honest, we figured out a better way to produce it where the whole thing folds into itself. It's a better experience. It packages better. It eliminated that plastic sleeve element.
That's innovation, I guess, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then it created this diorama effect that, you know, all that sort of cascaded from just the idea of like, you know what, I think we can do better than we're doing, and that's really part of the DNA of what we do in this company. I think we're always striving for what can we do better? How can we make this better? How can we make this more interesting? You know, how can we improve what we're doing?
Well, it's great. I love the figures are fantastic. There was also something you mentioned to me when you were showing me kind of the images for the first time, and that is that this is kind of like a new body build, isn't it, for these particular figures? There's kind of like a lot of new aspects to them. Could you take us through some of those differences in the new builds, please?
Unlike a plastic action figure, and I sort of liken this back to like the mid '90s in action figures, you know, where Toy Biz in particular, I don't want to call them out, but you know, they had this bank of parts, and so, you know, the torso could be Spider-Man, but it could be repurposed into Wolverine.
Absolutely, yeah.
It effectively became a deco game, you know, repaints. You know, you take a character and just redeco them.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the action figure business at a time when we were trying to make things unique every time.
Yeah.
Unique, different, and really reflect the characters. And so our existing sort of humanoid body shape was a little more disproportioned, just because of the nature of the brands that we had put them on.
Yeah.
And the term that we had said, we wanted to be a little more heroic.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. But it was just it was a style thing that we thought matched this brand better than what we had previously done. And unlike plastic tooling, where we were trying to use the economy of, well, we already have this tooled up, we spent 30 grand on the tools, let's reuse those pieces. You know, we have the ability to create unique, to engineer, you know, to each brand as we go.
Yeah.
So you know, so just the idea was, okay, well, let's adjust the body shape so that it reflects these characters better than what we previously had.
And they look fantastic as well. Like, you've got, you know, I don't know, there's something really cute about them. Obviously, something really very adorable about all of these.
The angular shapes are gonna sort of, and the exaggerated features and the oversized heads. I mean, there are certain things that are going to have that sort of cutesy connotation. You know, a lot of things have been done in realistic and cute form. I get it. We do. That is one constraint that we have because of the angular nature of the product.
Yeah,
that we've got to have some interpretive, freedom.
But it does. The other thing is as well, you kind of, I think you need that diversity throughout. You need that difference throughout all of the different things that are out there. You know, all the different licenses. You need to kind of make yourself slightly different from the other guys that are doing something, you know, like in that realm. So if you're all doing the same thing, eventually, you know, people start picking and choosing, I guess, in the sense.
It's just noise.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think these are absolutely superb. I'm really impressed with them because, again, like, being fully honest, like when I heard about it happening, I was like, oh, that's really cute. But I wasn't necessarily thinking this is going to be for me. Like, you know, initially I thought this is, you know, obviously it might be aimed at like a younger audience or whatever. But at the same time, like, I'll tend to buy things with the G.I. Joe brand on it, no matter what age it's aimed at. That's just me. Not everyone is like that, but, you know, a few of us are. And, you know, even thinking about it, I was kind of like, well, you know, I'm not expecting to be blown away. And I was blown away. I honestly, genuinely surprised at how complex, how interesting, how much fun they look. So, like, I'm kind of all in here. I'm probably going to be picking these up, no problem. And in relation to that, obviously, like I said at the start, there was an error in price point that we kind of communicated. So these are going to be $7.99 each, which is crazy good for what they are and also, like, yeah, could you give us like a few dimensions in terms of size as well? Like, how big are these going to be?
Yeah, so the original package is basically the size of a greeting card. It's okay. 5 inches by 7 inches, and with a little bit of a spine on it. The finished product, actually, I don't have these samples in front of me to measure. I think they'll be 4.5 inches tall.
So that, yeah, again, like almost, yeah, like just quite a decent size too. So like that's really good price point for what you're getting, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we think that I don't think anyone's going to buy these because they're recyclable or because of our stance. But I think if you're considering it, then that's a nice feature.
Totally.
You know, and if the product and it goes to it, the product has to be good.
Yeah.
And if it's not good, then it doesn't matter that we're committed to trees and helping the environment. Like, if the product's not good, then it's not good.
Yeah.
So, you know, it has to start with, it's got to be good, and we feel like we've got to deliver value. And you know, as a newer brand, you know, our ambition is to just pack as much as possible into this price point. Because quite honestly, one of the challenges we're trying to overcome is there's a little bit of a mental connection with paper and cheap.
Yeah.
In fact, we try to refer to it. We call our product Cubel stock, you know, a cute little term of it, and we try to refer to it really more as card stock than paper.
Yeah.
Because it's basically the same kind of paper that's used for trading cards. So it's thicker, it's sturdier. They'll hold up over time. I've got some that's been on my desk for over a year of, you know, giving demos and showing, and, you know, have traveled with me in my backpack across the country. We really want to pack a ton of value into the package.
Absolutely. So the other thing I mentioned on the burst a while back was that you know, assuming based on the original price points that we were quoted, not from you guys obviously, but, you know, from what we'd seen in reports, I was just assuming that would probably entail some sort of figures, but then also like vehicles. Now, is there a plan or an idea from you guys to maybe kind of like do something like that in the future? Because I know, like, at the moment, like, the first wave is just those 4 figures. You know, I'm guessing you guys have got plans to do more things. Obviously, you don't have to tell us, but I mean, are the plans going on beyond what you've kind of shown us today?
Well, for sure, there's 4 more characters coming right behind this one. They're just starting development. I got to be honest. Your question of, are you doing vehicles? I went back to my team and said, let's do vehicles.
You can thank me for that, guys. For
credit for that. You know, it's interesting. About a year ago, we had a project on the table to do. It didn't end up coming to fruition, but it was just the idea of a car brand that wanted to do a promotion. And again, Joel, being our resident mad scientist, said, I got to engineer a wheel that turns.
Oh,
otherwise,
wow.
we're not doing it. And so, again, using our patent and using the key joints, and that exists now. And so, you know, had we not been able to make a vehicle that has all the same wowness that, you know, that we've exuded on the kit, then we wouldn't do it.
Yeah, totally.
So with that said, I don't see how we can.
Fantastic. Now I'm fully expecting a huge papercraft diorama display, kind of like the HQ or, like, you know, the Terradrome or something. So that my expectations, unfortunately, as soon as someone mentions something like that, they just go through the roof. So yeah, you've unfortunately.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you know, we're limited to our imagination, and if there's, you know, we've developed 4-foot tall versions of our Cubles. You know, all the same joints, because our patent is not limited to a size or a material for that matter. One thing that, you know, what I can actually envision that that hasn't been mentioned is we are opening a Cubles World retail store slash showroom in Chicago in the next month-ish.
Wow.
So I could certainly see these large format items being kind of
Yes.
shown off in that location.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'll have to make the trek to Chicago because that sounds brilliant.
No, no,
Um, that's
we're very excited about that.
That's fantastic, Mike. Before we kind of finish, there's a couple of things I just wanted to tie up here. Now, we also reported that they would be on sale on Amazon, but is that the case, or is they going to be on the website? I mean, how are you going to be rolling this out in terms of availability for people?
Sure. Look, our transparently, we're a young company, and our ambitions are, let's say our ambitions are ahead of our distribution at the exact moment. We run our own Amazon store, so we for sure will be on Amazon, for sure on Cubles.com. We're being distributed by Diamond Comic Distributors, so a lot of the types of places that would probably be interested, comic shops and those types of places. As far as traditional big box retail or anything beyond that, there isn't an outlet who hasn't at least been made aware of us. Where we get to over the course of the next couple of years, we'll see as we grow.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. Well, $7.99, and like I said, Amazon, Cubles website. We'll put all the links in the description.
Also, I'll have to add, there'll be a set price for the four that'll be less.
Oh, fantastic! I wasn't aware of that. Brilliant. Okay, cool. Yeah. Brilliant. And do you know?
We do them. That's what we do with the multi packs.
That's great. Yeah, I'll be picking that set up, no doubt. So, like I said, guys, links in the description if you for all of those kind of things. And Mike, that brings us to the end of the interview, mate. Thank you so much for jumping on and chatting with me. Truly appreciate it, honestly. And thank you so much for showing me the product and contacting me and talking about it. I don't do this to get that kind of stuff, honestly. I really don't. But I just really, truly appreciate you kind of coming to us and doing this little interview.
I've spent my whole career in the business of pleasing fans, is really the way to put it. And there's an energy and excitement and a passion when it comes to fanship, and to see your reaction to what I was showing. Hopefully it extends out to the audience, but that's really a big part of what we do.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and we'd love to have you back on again at some point in the future, especially when you've got the Wave 2 coming out and all that kind of stuff. So we'd love to have you back on for that.
Be careful what you wish for.
Going to be a co-host at this rate. That brings us to the end of this installment of the Full Force Redacted. Thank you to my wonderful guest, Mike Horn from Cubles. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, guys, and as always, Full Force.
Access granted.
Competition time! Thanks to the lovely people at Cubles, we are giving away a full set of these awesome G.I. Joe paperboard figures to one lucky listener/viewer. All you have to do to be in with a chance of winning this brilliant prize is comment on this video with a character you would like to see in the G.I. Joe Cubles range. Make sure your comments are on either our YouTube, Facebook or Twitter posts. We will announce the winner on the weekly episode in a week's time on the 16th of October. Get your comments in before the 15th, however, in order to be eligible for the competition. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen, and as always, full force.
Access granted.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/The Full Force, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force!
Access granted.